Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of IIT Faculty Talks at the IIT Alumni Center, Chennai. My name is Anant Krishnan and it's my pleasure to introduce today's faculty speaker. Dr. Babji is Associate Professor in the Department of Applied Mechanics at IIT Madras. Has a very checkered academic career. He's originally a chemical engineering PhD, Texas Tech, and postdoc from Columbia, and he's worked at IIT Gandhinagar before he came to IIT Madras. And his talk today is extremely intriguing. It is very interdisciplinary. It is about human beings, it is about sport, and it is about many other things that most of us don't realize when we just see a top sportsman doing certain things, that there's a lot of science, engineering, and perhaps the last mile is only the human ability. So with that introduction, over to you, Professor. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you so much for the introduction. So I'll start with discussing about various devices as well as approaches over a period of time which we have developed at IIT Madras that applied in various sports. Say top-notch boxers use this, and also we are trying to use it in cricket, okay, with various leagues. So let me start with showing a product right away. So this is a shoe where we actually have an insole which is detachable. So anybody could, any boxer or athlete could wear it. And what it does is the following: it actually measures the force across, at various points. So I can show you a video of what we do. So if you look at it in boxing, we are, before I get into the sport, I was a novice and I didn't know boxing is all about just punching. But there is a lot more to it. It's about stability. It's about how, how do you have your, how do you dominate the ring. It's about general aggression as well as ring dominance and your stability, and then how much you punch, what are the different kinds of punches you use, and it's totally subjective. So it's totally subjective to the the judges as well. So IBA, which is the International Boxing Association, today wants tech in it so that most of the judgments can be objective rather than being totally subjective. And that's where we thought there is a big role for IIT Madras to play, because we are at we are a technology institute, and then we would want to develop some things which can help understand boxers better and their performance better. So one of the things in boxing, as we know, is force, generation of force, right? And in a layman's term, the force generation doesn't happen in wrist. It all happens from the ground. So what happens at the ground is very important to measure. It's important that we measure. And we have been tied up in this with Inspire Institute of Sports as Bellary, where they train world-class boxers, and many of the gold medalists and medalists from India are getting trained there. So we interacted with their coach, and then they said one of the key things which is important is in a bout of 20 seconds, in a bout with with a length of span of about 20 seconds, the boxer can rest his both the feet only for say 3 times. In 20 seconds, he is allowed to keep his both the foot resting. That's the front and the back of the foot resting just for 3 times. If he is doing more, his performance is poor, and the reason is he is vulnerable. So if the person is on both the his front and back portion is at rest, he is vulnerable. So that you don't want it. So that's where we said, okay, we will devise, build a device, an insole, which can actually tell you whether he is at, how many times he is resting in a bout of about, in the entire bout is about 3 minutes, but if you break it down into 20 seconds windows, you just need 3 times, not more than 3. So that's what this insole does. Whatever I have, it does much more. It can actually measure pressure at not just at multiple points, which can be used across sports. Like you can imagine being used in cricket as well. Like whether in a shot, whether you wanted a front foot to be having higher force, or back foot to be having higher, etc. But currently, we have been testing it in boxing. So you can see that. Yeah, you can see a demo of it. Can you run it? So this is with regard to both the soles. It can be, I'm showing you obviously only one shoe. It can be embedded in both the shoes, and you can see that you will see the kind of various analysis being done. So this can be in field collected. So this works in Bluetooth technology. So the user can control it from the app, and it connects very, very seamlessly to the mobile. And once data collection after a bout, the data is collected and it is sent to the the mobile, and it can also be stored in the cloud. So there is a cloud storage facility for doing longitudinal studies. And you can see how many times it has been placed, so there is a graph immediately displayed. But of course, there is a lot of analytics that can be done over a period of time, how a boxer improves or how an athlete improves, how is his pressure generation at various points, changes with and without practice, how he enhances. So those are the things we have done with this kind of studies which we have done with this boxing. Obviously, I'm not giving all the details because of confidentiality as well, which we have signed up with IIS. So yeah, next slides. So talking about again a sport like boxing, or even for that matter cricket, there are several similarities. So I'm just taking this boxing example because it's easier to understand. So you look at this. This is a simple IMU sensor which is in your mobile phones. Today, every mobile phone has got this IMU sensors. So what it does is, it's actually a combination of, it's an inertial measurement unit. It is a combination of 3 sensors, which is which gives you rotation and translation motion along all these 3 directions, X, Y, and Z. So it has a gyroscope, it has an accelerometer, and it has a magnetometer. So it has actually a combination of 3 sensors. So what it does actually is, it can tell you the speed, the motion, and the position of the athlete's different body parts. So here we have actually placed it in a boxer's hand, wrist. Actually, basically it has been one. It's a very small device. In fact, I have enlarged it in the presentation so that one could see. So it's a very small device attached to the hand. So what it gives is, it gives us the data that can help us understand what kind of punch he is making. So remember when I said about boxing, which it is one of the games where there is higher number of gold medals, and India has taken up boxing is one of the sports to be focused on, so that the gold medal counts increase. And so if you look at this, boxing, one of the key criterion for judging, for getting a better score, is like how much different kinds of punch one can do. So it's not just one punch. So you have a hook, like this, it's very easy, jab, and then an undercut, which is very difficult to make. And you can do it with right, and then you can do it with left as well. So there is like hoop, jab, uppercut, etc. So there are many different punching techniques. And what is important is, a boxer should be able to show ability to use a combination of these punches. So it's not enough if he is just using one kind of punch. The scoring in the Olympic stage will go down if he is just using one kind of punches. It's usually preferred to do multiple. So we are here actually collecting this data to understand what are the different kinds of punches a person is able to do. An elite boxer, or even a just who is budding up, is he having variety? What is his strength? Is he what kind of punches does he throw? Right? If he is just throwing one kind, or is it multiple kinds of punches after training? So this is an immense importance for a coach, because imagine a coach has to do all of this by looking at the videos, and where there are multiple tournaments happening. Not possible, right? He cannot monitor all of them, And even otherwise, you have to ask him to record, see all the videos. That's going to be of, not a human thing, right? How many videos? And in 3-minute bout, there will be a lot of things happening. So the coach cannot remember. So what we said is, we actually did this data. We developed an AI algorithm that can actually tell you how many, punches, or how many hooks, or how many jabs, or how many uppercuts he is making. All this in a bout. So all it takes is to just place a sensor, a very small sensor that can tell you the entire details about his boxing. And not just that, you can place it in the, we have now placed it in the, along with the shoe insole, what we are talking about. We also have placed an IMU sensor, so it can tell you the position of the player in the ring. So usually it is preferred that the player stands in the center in boxing, because you want to dominate the ring. So if you go to the corners, that means you are avoiding the fight. So you want to dominate, and therefore it's generally preferred that the player is in the center of the ring. And this data will tell you exact heat map. So we have generated a heat map of the player in the ring. So we know exactly how much time he has spent in each of the, each portion of the ring. So that's an important feedback for the judge as well as to the coach, because it can help make decisions and improve the boxing. Along with this, he will know the strength and weaks, and one can do a SWOT analysis of a player. Okay. Moving on, this is another thing which we have done now. This can give, IMUs can give certain accuracy, but we have come up with devices and algorithms which can give sub-centimeter accuracy. So this is a technology which is used in your latest Apple pods, where it is especially for finding out what you miss. So this is that same technology which we are using, called ultra wideband sensors, UWBs, which can actually give it millimeter, sub-centimeter resolutions. So it can clearly say what is the, so you can see in the presentation, the two players are doing a match, and then their locations in the various portions of the ring as a function of time is plotted here. So it can give you sub-centimeter accuracy, and that helps you get the heat map. So moving on, so we talked about devices, which are wearables, but cameras play a major role. So cameras is something which is today is as a sensor, acts as a key element, giving large amount of information, very vital information. So what we did is, we actually mounted a few cameras in the Inspire Institute of Sports Science, and there are only a few competing products in the world. So one of them is called iBoxer system from UK, which has been attributed to about 17 gold medals have been attributed to the system over a period of 10 years. And this is from, this iBoxer system is supposed to, is from an university in UK, which, where they produce most number of boxes, Olympic boxes, right? And then they use this camera-based approach. We have now tied up, we have been trying to do better. We are tying up all this along with the wearable devices as well. So with this camera system, what we have did is, we have actually said, automatically segmented, that those are our basics. So what we have so far did is automatically segmented the videos. So you collect the data, you throw out the unwanted portions of the video stream, store only the bout portions. So whatever amount of data is required, where bout is happening, we store that, and then we naturally identify the person. Here his stance. So interesting fact, what the coach was saying is, we want to do talent scouting, because India has a huge, with huge population, talent scouting is an important task. So this video stream that can tell you how each of their, the players' stances. So the coach from IIS said, just looking at the video, not even the person, because from here it's hard to detect a person. But looking at this video, the coach was able to say, this person his food stance is bad, and I'm pretty sure he's not from a countryside, but from a township where he has not gotten all enough exercises. So he needs to be strengthened on that. And more so, he immediately even said, I know this guy's name is from our center only. This guy should be this person, because he's the one who has this. So much just looking at this pose, and how he moves around. And what we are trying to detect is various motives or basic units in boxing. So as I said, when I started this sport, I just know of punch. But what I now know is what understanding with the coaches is you have a preparatory phase where you are getting ready for punching, and then you have a punch phase where you are trying to go into attack, and then you don't rest, you reset, you again prepare for a punch just in a short span, engage, and then you come back to rest. It's actually a state diagram, transitions. So there are various states, and a boxer moves from one state to the other. And we are looking at is identifying when a person, how much time each person spends in a state, and then what are the basic state transitions he's doing. And more importantly, can I understand punch telegraph? Remember, everybody has a trail, right? We leave either knowingly or unknowingly, most often unknowingly. So can I understand what is this boxer's telegraph, trail? What is he leaving behind? Is he has a pattern before he punches, right? That is something which we are looking at. What is it? And this is common across sport, be it cricket or be it boxing, you can relate. When does this guy play the shot, right? So that is actually a telegraph. It will be very difficult to decipher from elite boxers, but as a human naked eye you cannot, but with computer vision, with proper AI, we will be able to understand basic sequences of the boxes. And that's what we are trying to do. We are now looking at what are the basic sequences that a boxer is doing before he goes to engagement. And that will tell me precisely what is the opponent's strength and what is the strength of this guy, our player, who is going to take on the opponent. So that's what this system is. So we are looking at, go back to the, so we are estimating the line of sight, line of attack, closeness to the opponent, the range. It's not just enough to punch. So to give you an example, in boxing, you think before you punch, you have to take your arm back and then try to hit hard. That never works. Actually, that's the worst way of doing a boxing, because coaches or elite boxers, they will never move their arm behind your this thing, so that the opponent will easily identify you are going to hit him. So always the boxing is from the movement is restricted. It never goes beyond. If it goes, the opponent already knows that you are going to hit him. So you just need to move away. So here what we did is we are trying to estimate all of that. We are doing line of sight, line of attack, closeness to the opponent. So a person may try punching very hard, but if there is no range, it's not going to land. So it's very important to understand the range of the boxer, how much far the other opponent is from. And then defense is very important. So what are the various defensive positions a boxer is taking? So that is also we have done studies. And then micro expressions. This is where I've written at last. This is where we are now focusing on micro expressions, which will tell me what is whether the boxer is bluffing, when is he going to engage. It's a very hard problem, not solved in the literature as well. So we are trying to take a shot at it. Yeah. Go on, next slide. So as I said, these are the four dominant things a boxer is, key things based on which a boxer is judged: aggressiveness, dominance, and then viewability. So it's also important that a boxer lands or punches at certain locations in the ring, because it can be seen by all the judges. So that is not great thing, but then that's the way today judgment is made. So it is important that 4 or 5 judges, the judges there, one on the outside and then one sitting there, they should be able to view. So there are key locations in the ring where viewability is high. And if punching happens and during that time, it's natural that the person gets more points. So we are also trying to see at what locations are key locations to make a punch compared to others. And then finally, the agility, how quickly he is making. So to give an idea, the Indian boxers typically, they think aggressiveness is just moving forward. So this is what the coach was saying. People just keep moving forward to hit. What they miss is this agility. So it's not just enough to move forward. In fact, if you move forward, you become vulnerable. Keep moving forward because the opponent just needs to take a turn and change the path so that the punching can be done easily. So agility is very important, and I know your where you make moves, not just aggression to state, but where you make turns, that becomes very important. And those are the things one can easily get from this video analysis. And then the boxers can, trained to make modifications. Yeah. So coming back, we have talked about a boxer and athletes, but we have not just restricted there. We are developing a tool. I will not get into all the details. It's a work in progress. So we are also developing a tool where we can, we are actually doing what we call it as a trainer system for normal people who from home. So today with a lot of emphasis or a lot of online things happening at online, we are also developing an online training system, but it's a work in progress. So we have some results, but for another day. Yeah. And then finally, we have also been involved actively in weightlifting as an excess sport. And again, we are looking at computer vision plus IMU combinations, where you think of monitoring the various weightlifting positions. So a weightlifter actually, there is a very high inertia during the pull, right? So everybody think balancing the weight is the difficult part, but actually when you speak with the person who does the sport, they'll say maintaining the weight at the highest is the top is the easiest, because it's very fraction of seconds and then you drop it. If you maintain the center of gravity, align the center of gravity, it is the easiest. What is more difficult is the pull, initial inertia. How do you overcome? How quickly you overcome the inertia? And then how do you maintain the various posture during the sport? That becomes a key role. So what we have done is we have actually come up with a system where it could analyze the weightlifter's various postures. So if you go back to the next, yeah. So is there yeah, you can run the video. So you can see we are actually on both left and right sides, you are actually monitoring the various postures in the body, the various angles. So there are, if the weightlifter is doing things properly, there are actually 3 phases typically. One at the lift, then the knee should be bent at a certain angle to generate enough force, and then there is a lift phase, and then there is a final phase where the center of gravity of the barbell has to be aligned with the center of gravity of the body. So from the initial, so if you look at, notice weights are always kept closer to the leg, not for the far, because your center of gravity has to be closer to the weight, and you don't want the center of gravity to move. So a good weightlifter will not change his center of gravity while pulling the barbell, but at the same time, his speed of response will be very quick so that he can overcome the inertia. So there is a huge amount of training to understand the speed of inertia and speed of how quickly he can overcome the inertia. And what we are doing is, just by placing a IMU sensor in the hand as well as in the barbell, we understand what is the speed at which he is overcoming, and what is the kind of training we have to give so that he overcomes. And we have also been using this insole shoes so that we understand what is his pressure force generation. Is he doing force generation at right places? So there is these 3 important points in the leg, to the left, to the right, and to the heel. So these are called the golden triangle for the heel, for the foot. So how the force is generated in these 3 points plays a major role. So we are using this insole sensors, and we are using IMU, and we have combined with vision to understand how the weightlifter is actually progressing during the training. So that is a tool which I have again developed for fitness people, especially for weightlifters, and that I think covers. We are working on an entire range of spectrum. All of this is translatable to various sports like cricket. We have been working with cricket teams, but it's for various reasons I cannot divulge more information. But that's how we stand. And I'll be happy to take any questions if there is any.
Hello. So you're talking about a couple of things, which the first question I would ask is the boxing part. You said scouting, right?
Yes.
Now this coach knows who was training there and he could identify, right? So do you have parameters for scouting if they're going to go around the country, right? Okay. So how are they going to see? We are talking about catch 'em young, grassroots. Do you have something for this? Yeah,
actually the system is developed for that purpose, because we want to, we cannot replace coaches. As my interaction, they are the ones who do, who are the backbone. But what is it is translate the knowledge of the coach as much as possible to these AI devices, so that it can, capture, help in scouting especially, right? So if you see the boxing I was saying, a good boxer or a guy who when we scout, one of the things they look for is the stance, the positions, the angles. Basically, I just need to estimate the angles from the pose, and then there is a set of angles prescribed by the coach with deviations. So that is something to check for. So I don't need a coach there. I just need a video stream, and with coaches input, I will be able to say what is his stance and how much he close to expected. And what is the variety of punches does he throw? That comes from IMU. What is the force how much force is he generating? Comes from the shoes. And which part of the shoe is focusing on? Is he stable? Is he actually taking more rest, more breaks? Or is he able to continue without taking much breaks? How is he engaging? All of it now today can be done, with this system without coaches' interference.
So basically, deployment, I run in fact, I'm from a Rotary Club. I also used to be with the IIT. So our Rotary Club runs a center, boxing center, in the Nehru Stadium. Next to that, the corporation itself has given us space. We train about 250 children from the underprivileged Vyasarpadi area,
okay.
right?
Excellent.
Out of that, 28 of them are playing in the national levels, different age group.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so how do we deploy that? Right, so the thing is, I'm also played some level of football and I coached basketball, etc. So most of the things that you were told, I know it, right?
Can be applied, yes, right? Equally,
because
yes.
you already signed with Aspire, right? Or
Inspire Institute. We have not signed up. As a product of IIT Madras, we don't give exclusive rights to anybody. So we can always deploy a system there. So all it took is, in fact, till now we have been deploying our systems at IAS to test, and then now we are co-developing. But obviously there is no exclusivity.
So how affordable, accessible is this? Because I'm talking about North Madras. It's known for giving champions, even for the country, boxing and so on.
Yeah. So I know the cameras costed us about, the initial equipment costed us about 45,000. So 2 cameras, we had 4 cameras there, but it's possible to do with just 2 cameras. We can start with that. So about 2 to 3 lakhs investment of initial investment should have set up for 1 ring. And the coach can obviously see what are the issues with each player, and then they should be able to give a feedback right there. So that a training setup like this can be set up at 3 lakhs with equipment charges alone, without adding manpower, etc., without adding technology cost, etc. It can be done at a very low cost. Obviously, I'm not going to sell it for the price outside, but I'm just saying if it is the bare minimum cost is this.
Sir, I had a question, actually 2 questions. So one is that the sensor in the insole, and then the IM unit in the wrist and so on. I presume these are just examples of many sensors that you and your center have developed. what is the role of video analytics beyond what you just showed? For example, historical data in boxing. There have been legendary boxers, gold medalists, Muhammad Ali and so on. Is it possible to machine learn their techniques so that coaches themselves can design new techniques? To say this is how an expert boxer actually reacted in that sense. That's one question. Role of video analytics for past or archival data.
Yes.
Second is newer types of sensors. I came across a group in University of Edinburgh, D.K. Irwin's group, which looks at something called speckle computing, which is like, you sprinkle that speckles on a body and then they can actually create many of those things and they use it for various things, motion capture and so on. So are there newer generation of sensors itself coming out because of this sports research?
Yes. So the thing is, like, the first question, to answer your first question, we are looking into it. Right now we are focused on getting this smart boxer system to a version 1 where it has its own capabilities, because India doesn't have one. So in fact, we have tie-ups with Sports Authority of India who say we have gone up with everywhere scouting for techniques, and still now they don't know how to control. So if you look at one of the boxers, without naming a Commonwealth winner, you will see that his stability of the foot is still missing. It was from the coach. So we don't have as a country as a system 1. So we wanted to make this as version 1 before we delve into. There are several interesting questions like this. How much can I read about the opponent? Apart from new technique, from the videos, existing videos, what can I learn about the opponent's technique? Who should compete against whom? What is the technique to be used, etc. So there are several interesting questions which we have thought about, but at this juncture we are addressing, taking a bite by bite. So that's what I would put it. And the second part, of course, the sensors, there are energy harvesting sensors which are coming out, etc. And especially what I didn't mention is you can also put sensors on to understand your lung capacity. So not just a sport of humans, but also look at racing, horse racing. If you can wear it in the put it in the horse lung, the capacity is which determines the win or lose. I mean, it's very important. So there are several new sensors coming up. We are focusing on what is available right now off the shelf, and then also tailoring these sensors to fit in, because more than developing a sensors, what I think is there is a whole lot of sensors and boards that are coming up. What we are looking as a center is making it conformal so that it is applicable for sports application. So the traditional, right now we are all using this silica-based boards. The problem with it is it's firm. It cannot be flexible. If I want to print it on the board in the shirt, we don't have facilities. We don't have facilities in India. I cannot make any conformable electronics in India. None of the IITs or none of the centers in India has this kind of system. So as a part of this sports center, we are trying to buy equipment where we can produce conformable electronics, meaning I can actually stretch, compress, so that elongate, whatever, it can be worn on the suit. So that would be a great addition, and that's where several new ideas will come in. Say, for example, I want to measure sweat, and I want to paste it, etc., conformal. All of it is possible. So we are, as a center, we are looking at it in that direction, where we want to produce conformable electronics that can be worn on sports and modified or tailored it to sports applications. Yeah.
Good evening. Myself Karthikeyan, 2003 MDes from IIT Delhi. Currently I'm working as a principal scientist at CLRI in Shoe and Product Design Center. So sorry, I was a little bit late. I was stuck up, but the thing what you are talking about, the weightlifting shoe, currently we are working on designing a footwear for weightlifting, where we are trying to study different materials to not to travel or the transfer the load to the ground. So that's very interesting. Maybe I didn't see the earlier slide, but maybe we can look into what possibilities that we can do on the collaborative side. And coming to gloves, maybe we need some kind of an output, because we have transferred a technology for gloves for minus 50 degree, where we want to see the numbness. Maybe we can do ambience here with which that we can maybe, since you are into boxing and the motion and other thing. So maybe I'll definitely look forward for further discussion. Yeah.
Sure, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that very informative lecture. I hope people here and people on the online audience enjoyed it, and wish you all the best. You mentioned that these are 2 gold medal rich sections of international competition, so hope to see IIT Madras on the podium in some manner, at least assisting India's journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.